place to put your questions. We'll be answering them live tonight. So I want to make sure to have you in the right place so you get those questions answered. So a little bit about tonight. First, we're going to go through the AP CSP courses that CodeHS offers. We're also going to talk about best practices on how to pace your AP CSP course. We're going to look at a couple of updates from College Board. Not a lot has changed since last year, but this may be new to a few of you. So I want to make sure to address any changes. I also want to talk about preparing for the AP performance task. And we're going to go through some review material that we have at CodeHS. There are some materials that are available right through our curriculum, and you can add that to your course. So we'll talk a little bit about that. If you don't have a CodeHS account yet, you can sign up at codehs.com/sign up. And you'll see that thrown there in the chat. And if you simply click the link, you can go ahead and sign up for a free CodeHS account. If you'd like as well, if you have a pro account with CodeHS and need to switch it over to the teacher account, make sure to let us know. We will ensure that you get all the pro tools available to you if you have signed up for the pro account. So I'm going to go ahead and move on here. So if this is your first time with CodeHS, you're like, hey, I have never taught not only a CS course, but this is my first time with CodeHS in general. I want to talk a little bit about CodeHS. CodeHS is a comprehensive platform. It is for teaching computer science in middle schools and high school. And it is a web-based program. So this includes computer science curriculum. It includes offline and online professional development. It also includes all the software that you need in one place. So this includes teacher tools and resources and everything you need in one place without having to download separate pieces of software. So I found CodeHS when I was a first-year CS teacher. I actually don't have a CS background. Actually came from an English teacher background. So came from English, teaching how to read and write to now teaching computer science. And I just was overwhelmed. So you may be in the same place. You may be like, I need something that's comprehensive and some tool that will allow me to actually teach the courses. And speaking about curriculum, I'm going to turn it over to Joy, who's also here with us. I didn't get to introduce us yet. So Joy is one of our curriculum specialists here with CodeHS, and she's just going to tell you a little bit about herself and her role in AP CSP.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Joy Anderson, and I'm a curriculum developer here at CodeHS. I'm currently the course owner for AP CSP, which means that I'm the primary owner for making changes and building resources to help educators who use our platform. Before CodeHS, I was a developer and I used Python a lot in my role. So I'm really excited to see that students are now going to be learning that from you. If you have any questions, again, feel free to post them in Q&A.
Excellent. And Claire is our marketing director here at CodeHS, and she's joining us here as well. So Claire, if you want to say hey real quick.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. Like Joy, I'll be kind of in the background. If you have questions, please add them in the Q&A. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you, ladies. I wanted to talk a little bit through what it is that our goal is really as whether it's curriculum specialist or here working as a PD specialist. I want to really share our mission and vision here at CodeHS with you. We want to empower all students to meaningfully impact the future. And so we really believe that coding is an essential 21st century skill. So our little tagline there at the bottom left corner, you can see it's a read, write, code. And just as reading and writing are foundational skills that you're going to need to be successful in this increasingly technological world, our students kind of need a baseline of understanding of coding and computer science. What I love about AP CSP in particular is that it is technically an introductory course that will immerse your students in pretty much everything they need to know about CS and coding. So it's pretty cool. We have a teacher trainer named Sean Razor, and this is what he said about our AP CSP course. He said he had 101 students take the AP exam, 95 passed with a 5 or better, and it is great to be able to use this content. So he's excited. I hope that you'll get excited about the content that's available to you. So we're going to talk a little bit about the AP CSP courses. We're going to throw this link in the chat for you, but the best place to go is codehs.com/course/catalog. And Joy is going to throw in the chat the link specifically to the AP courses. And this will take you to a place where you can find AP CSA if you've ever taught AP CSA, and also the AP CSP courses. And what's great is that we offer AP CSP in several languages. We also offer a flavor of AP CSP in cybersecurity. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So as you navigate through our courses on the course catalog, you're going to notice that you see AP CSP in both JavaScript and Python. These courses introduce students to foundational concepts of computer science and also programming. So programming is either going to be in Python or JavaScript. There's a unique focus on problem solving and real world applications. And so students are going to be challenged to explore how computing and technology can impact the world. In AP Computer Science Principles, using the cybersecurity curriculum. So this course is actually unique. It introduces students to the foundational concepts of computer science, also challenges them with real world examples. But in this cybersecurity version, students actually explore the requirements of AP CSP through the lens of cybersecurity with the application either in JavaScript or in Python. So the Insight cybersecurity concept lessons are available in Python, can be integrated into our existing AP CSP in Python course. So again, this material is based on some work supported by the National Cybersecurity Training and Education. In what I want to, it also is funded by NSF. So this is a pretty cool course. It's actually brand new as of last year. We offer also a review APCS principles course. This course contains hundreds of AP style questions to help students prepare for the exam in May. And so this is a great thing to add to your course and supplement your course with when you're ready to review for that final test. So we're going to talk through a little bit about course pacing. You're going to notice that first things first, we offer the pacing within the CSP syllabi. All of our syllabi are College Board approved. So if you go to the College Board website, you're going to be able to choose this as your framework. Our syllabus has been updated to reflect, any changes that College Board has made, maybe to the curriculum framework. Thankfully, not much has changed since last year. And the main course consists of 8 main content units, in addition to various practice performance tasks and projects, and of course, some exam review as well. So the course does come with exam review. You can add additional exam review if you'd like in it with the additional course. So for each unit, you're going to find an estimate in both time and hours that it could take to complete the unit. So this is just an estimate given there's a variety of teaching situations, the timeline may vary. But in general, the entire course is going to take your students roughly 120 to 130 hours. And this is not including the performance task and the review. So you're going to want to build time into your course in order to allow your students enough hours to complete those 2 tasks. So we recommend that you finish the instructional portion really by the end of March and begin on the review and the performance task. So the performance task will take roughly 3 weeks, and this is in class time. So according to the AP framework, you need to allot 12 hours for your students to complete that performance task. So we've laid it out, so that the performance task is towards the end of the curriculum, but this can be moved to earlier if you choose to move it. So as soon as students finish the basic data structures unit, they have all they need in order to start their performance task. So to complete the performance task, students are, again, supposed to receive that 12 hours of in-class time, but keep in mind that that doesn't have to really be continuous. So one thing that may work or worked in my classroom, may work in your classroom as well, is maybe take the first 5 or 10 minutes of class to review a specific concept, to review the syllabus with your students. And you might maybe ask your students, one class you might review how to define and call a function, or how to create a parameter, or how to create a list. So those basic concepts can be review for them to actually begin their performance task. And so it helps to remind students to include all of these components in their programs as they work through the performance task. So you should always plan on taking time to review before the end of the course as well. So if review takes you about 2 to 3 weeks and the performance task takes you another 3 weeks, you really need to make sure you have enough time to finish all of that content by the beginning or end of April. Beginning of April is when you should begin, but really by the end of April is when your performance task is going to start to come due. And we'll talk about the due dates here in just a little bit. So the curriculum framework is laid out in 5 big ideas, and these again are laid out by the College Board. By design, the big ideas don't necessarily translate to units. So our course is laid out in modules. And so you're going to find each of the big ideas interwoven throughout each module. So let me pause right there and ask, are there any questions so far? I know I covered a lot so far, so I want to make sure. All right. Well, if there are no questions, we're just going to keep going. I have a raised hand here. Go ahead and pop your question into the Q&A section for me, and then we will be able to answer that. I'm going to talk through a couple of updates from the College Board. There's not a lot, but I want to make sure to cover a couple of things you will need to be aware of as the year progresses, because there are some changes based on the way we did testing last year, if you were with us. So last year, there were a whole lot of changes. In fact, College Board rolled out a brand new curriculum for that 2020 to 2021 school year. So this is the second year with the same test format. And even though it's the same format, we're going to take a closer look at just a few little changes. So as a reminder, you're going to need to submit your syllabus. And so really, really important to note, if you haven't gone through the AP audit process, make sure to connect with your AP coordinator at your school and make sure to get that audit process completed. It's really simple because CodeHS has endorsed syllabi already available to you in the AP audit process. It'll make it much simpler to be able to upload those syllabi quickly. AP Classroom, if you haven't logged in yet this year and you maybe used AP Classroom last year, it got a fresh new look this year. In fact, that just rolled out a couple of weeks ago, so you're going to be able to see that. The testing format has changed for 2021 to 2022. Just be aware that for 2022, the test itself, the end of course exam, is going to be a paper pencil test. Now, again, with all of those changes, always say the disclaimer, this could always change. Last year we had 3 administrations, I think 2 were paper pencil and 1 was digital. So there are many changes that are kind of floating around depending on the circumstances. So we're just gonna say for now, according to the College Board, the testing format is going to be strictly paper pencil, and then the performance task is going to be submitted digitally. The performance task deadline has also moved just a bit, and we'll go through that in just a moment. It's actually to your advantage. It's moved up just a couple days. So you need to complete the audit process, and again, as soon as possible, especially if this is your first year teaching AP CSP, you will get access to the College Board resources as soon as you complete your audit. So you submit your syllabus and your AP administrator has to then approve it. And if you taught the class in the past, you still have access to all the resources. You won't lose access from year to year. You don't have to resubmit your syllabus from year to year unless you're asked to by the College Board. So as far as AP Classroom, this gives you access to create your AP CSP courses within AP Classroom, enroll your students. You're going to confirm, submission of performance tests there. You're going to receive any important notifications and updates, and you're going to gain access to any secure material. So this could include things like rubrics that are only going to be available to you if you are a teacher that has been verified or has completed the audit process. So there is a question, is there a document to align AP Classroom questions, videos with modules in the APs in CodeHS for AP, CSP, and Python? I'm going to have Joy look into that for you. Elva, thank you so much for asking that question. All right. So real quick, I said, hey, it's a really easy process. So when you're in the AP audit, you're going to want to look for endorsed provider. And from there, you're going to choose CodeHS's syllabus. And there is a syllabus. There should be one for JavaScript, one for Python, and one for cybersecurity, those 3 versions. So really quick, simple, and it's easy for you to complete your audit. As far as the curriculum framework changes, so the curriculum really has not seen many changes as far as the exercises, but we are tweaking things along the way. So we may move some modules. Some of the modules that you may have seen in your 2020 version may be moved to a different place, but are still available in that same course should you choose to teach them. So for instance, top level domains, hexadecimal numbers, those are not included necessarily with the curriculum, the newest curriculum framework, but we've still added it or left it there in the AP CSP course should you choose to use that within your course. So one thing to note is that our courses do cover all the content that was added, but for the most part, again, we've left some of those top level things in there. So here's a few deadlines that are coming up for this coming school year. So we recommend that you register by October 4th. And you as a teacher want to make sure you get through the audit process so you have access to all the tools and materials. You also want to get your students registered by about that same timeline, around October 4th. That way they also have the tools and materials available to them as a student. The performance task, only the work submitted as final on Monday, May 2nd. So this is at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be sent to the College Board for scoring. So it's very important to note, they don't just have to submit it, they have to submit it as final. So there's 2 phases when they submit their performance task. One is it asks them just to simply submit so that they're able to make changes should they need to. And then one is to submit as final. So the second is on Monday, May 9th at noon is when their AP CSP final end of course exam will take place. Now this exam is 70 questions and it's 2 hours long. So 2 phases of the test. First is the create task, and then the second is going to be that end of course exam. So course resources, we're going to talk a little bit through AP Classroom. So you will see different things from your students. So your students will be able to see AP Classroom and their version of AP Classroom. And then you as a teacher will be able to see a teacher version of AP Classroom. So as soon as students have access to AP Classroom, well, they have to register first for the AP exam. And once they do, there are great resources for students broken down by big idea or topic. This will include things like AP daily videos, full practice exams, quiz questions. You can even as a teacher assign out different questions to your students. You can assign an entire full length practice test if you want to assign that out to your students. And then you can run reports on their usage of these resources. So you can also, assign links through CodeHS. So if you want to customize your course, and there's ways that you can actually add an assignment within the CodeHS LMS and link it to those individual questions or assignments that you've created in AP Classroom. So again, they're going to work in tandem with one another, which I think is great. New this year, AP Classroom also allows you to use questions to create and assign custom quizzes. And this question bank is a great resource, for review and test practice. You can filter these out by big idea, objective, and topic. And this year we have even more filters. So it's really great. So feel free to use those resources that are available to you and your students in AP Classroom in addition to CodeHS. As far as the exam, there is 2 phases, as I said. The first thing that will be due is going to be that performance task. So you can see it there at the bottom of the graph. This is really 30% of their overall grade, and you need to allot about 12 hours of class time for that performance task. So again, as you're planning ahead, if there are any school holidays or any time that your students are going to have different school activities, you're going to want to build that in to ensure that you have a bank of 12 hours to give to your students. The other thing that you're going to see is that 70 multiple choice and multiple select question exam. And this one has 5 single select multiple choice questions that are related to a specific reading passage on the AP exam. So if you have taught AP CSP before, there used to be an explore task, and this kind of dove deeply into maybe a computing innovation. Instead, there's now a reading passage that will dive deeply into computing innovation and ask a multiple choice question in relation to the reading passage. As far as the create task content, so this year is no different from last year, but it's new to many of you that are teaching CS. Now, a couple of notable things that changed on the create task. One is the requirement for students to have a list or an array. So students will need to have a procedure as well. This is not new if you've taught AP CSP before, but they do need to have a parameter now for their function call. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes, but both the list and the function cannot be trivial. And what I mean by that is it just simply cannot be unnecessary. So if I maybe create a function with a parameter and I only call it once, or perhaps I create a list of only 2 things, if those 2 things in the list can simply be held in 2 different variables, it's not really, that list is not going to be necessary. So an AP reader may look at it and think, well, it's unnecessary or it's trivial. So just keep that in mind when you're working through the create task with your students. So the question from Eric was, when does the performance task actually start? Eric, that's a great question. The performance task really starts when you want it to start. So if you'd like, you can simply go ahead and start the performance task probably at, I would say no later than the beginning of April is going to be my recommendation to you. I hope that helps and answers your question. So to submit the create task, students don't need to submit anything external. They're actually going to be able to respond right there on the digital portfolio website. And to help students get ready for this, the College Board has actually put together about 22 questions in AP Classroom. These are really great questions there. If you go to the question type and drop down and see formative, and you can see that on my slide, you can actually choose questions that are related to the create task. This is just a great way to prep your students on the create task rubric and help them to understand what it is that they are going to be encountering in terms of the questions they're going to be asked. Any other questions so far? I'm going to park here for just a moment.
I believe there's one in the chat. Like, when is the earliest teachers have to start on the performance task?
So the earliest you can start in the performance task is when you are through, if you're teaching using CodeHS, when you're through the data structures unit, that's going to be the best time to get started on that create task. Does that help? Okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, we're going to talk about that performance task a little more. I know that we always have a lot of questions around that. So performance task, again, 12 hours you're going to want to give your students classroom time. It is submitted digitally on the digital portfolio website. You can get there easily from AP Classroom. The program must have at least an input and output and make the use of at least one list or array. So again, it needs to contain a procedure. That procedure, or in some cases it's called a function, that function needs to have a parameter that contains sequencing, selection, and iteration. Sequencing just means one step after another. So pretty much if you have 2 steps, you got sequence, right? Selection would be an if or an if-else statement. So this is a way that we can choose between maybe 2 different options. And iteration just means that it's some sort of repetitive process. So it could be a while loop or a for loop. And this must execute different parts of the code in the procedure based on different parameter values. So we want to ensure that the students are actually able to produce 2 separate kinds of output based on some sort of input. So if I was to put maybe a guessing game and I say, I guess correctly, I have one sort of output. If I guess incorrectly, I have a different sort of output. That would be a way that I could call that procedure in several ways and have different outputs depending on the type of program that it is. So this is a high level overview, but as you get through the curriculum, you're going to see that we will take students through several sample performance tasks. So last year, students are going to turn in one 1-minute video of their program running, and then the program code itself. So there is a way for them to print out their code and upload that to the College Board. They will also have some individual written responses. So in addition to having a list, all of those pieces that we talked about in their procedure, their parameter and their 2 different inputs and outputs, they're going to need to be able to write out their answers on the digital portfolio platform. So again, all of this is due at 11:59 p.m. And this is Eastern Standard Time, by the way, on Monday, May 2nd. So note that the due date is not based on local time. It is actually Eastern Time. So as far as the practice performance tasks and scoring, so using the formative PT questions in AP Classroom, students can actually practice submitting their videos and their responses right there on the College Board website before they even get started. So to help students prepare for the performance tasks, though, we actually have some practice performance tasks that will build their skills and kind of not only focus on programming, but also focus on that writing portion that they'll need to be submitting to the College Board. So teachers can, use the grading criteria and grade to the rubric that they can assess, ahead of time and show their students, how they're doing on those different practice performance tasks. So I hope that helps. We have 2 full performance tasks in both JavaScript and Python. And again, this is also including in the cybersecurity version of the courses. You're going to see the executable code, the video, and the written responses. So you're going to find for each sample included, both The included, hypothetical score and commentary is also going to be there. So you're going to be able to show that to your students as well. One thing that students should note as they look through these is that both programs seem to contain all the needed pieces, but one of them scores significantly better because the explanations are more thorough versus maybe another that was a little more vague. So the key to scoring well is taking time to correctly respond to the prompt. So students are going to need to look through and kind of grade their own performance task and grade other performance tasks. And by the end, there'll be really should be experts at the rubric. Any questions on that so far? Take a look. All right. So I talked a little bit about the review materials. So there's several different resources to help students review and prepare for the AP test in May. So as students work through the course, they're going to find AP practice quizzes dispersed throughout the entire course. And so really, it's not just a culminating one-time event. They're going to see these questions over and over again as they work through their curriculum. So those are going to help to tie what the students are learning and how they're going to see those types of questions on the exam. This is important because the exam is language neutral. And because if you realize we're using JavaScript and Python in CodeHS, but students are going to need to be able to translate that between the course language and this AP pseudo language that they're going to see on the test. At the end of the course, you're going to find a full AP review module. So this is an entire exam review. This module contains a full-length practice test with 70 questions, and all of the content was updated to the latest test. In addition, you can add the review content in the course. So there is also AP Computer Science Principles review. And again, the review course includes all of the topic quizzes and a bunch of reader question bank quizzes as well. So you can find the course in the course catalog. The best thing to do is go to the course catalog and start typing in the word review, and it's going to pop up right away. You can add that as a supplement to your current AP CSP course, and this is going to be really helpful in preparation for the test. So just to summarize a little bit, and Joy's going to throw a really great document into the chat here for you. This is a great resource she created that has all of the resources we talked about today, but this includes some of the resources I talked about also in AP Classroom. Remember that November 15th is going to be the final deadline for students to register for the test via AP Classroom. Something that I want to emphasize, though, is that they won't have access to any of those resources in AP Classroom until they're registered for the AP exam. So it's best to have them registered by October 4th. That is our recommendation. But again, November 15th would be the hard deadline for them to be able to register for the AP exam. Now, some of you, I know Eric said your exam is not, or your course does not start until spring. Make sure you check with your AP coordinator. I believe there's a different date for our spring semester teachers that are only teaching one semester. So really important to check with your AP coordinator on that. The recommendation is to finish the course by March, and that way you have enough time to start on the performance task and also begin your review. The performance tasks are due Monday, May 2nd at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then the end of course exam will take place at noon on Monday, May 9th, 2022. And just as a reminder, right before then is the AP Calc exam. So make sure that your students are prepped for the very rigorous day should they have both exams on the day. But Monday, May 9th at noon is their official end of course exam for AP CSP. All right, well, if you have joined us and are still here at the end, we have some upcoming webinars for you. We have some really cool resources coming up, some tools to track student progress in CodeHS, how to use CodeHS in person, virtual, easy ways to grade and provide feedback on CodeHS. So if you are interested in attending any of those webinars, we would love to have you join us. And again, I'm going to pop that link in the chat for you. And also, if there are any additional questions, please, by all means, throw it in the Q&A box for me so we can address those questions here. And we have some more resources for you. We do have a CodeHS Facebook, CodeHS Educators Facebook group. If you'd like to join, we'd love to have you. There's an active community of teachers that are helping one another. There are some additional CodeHS PDs that are available as well, and some various social media channels. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And if you have any additional questions, please see our upcoming webinars. I'm going to take a peek over here at our questions. Are there lessons with the AP pseudocode in CodeHS? Yes, that's a good question. We actually have examples that will show that also include the AP pseudocode so we can see the translated version. One thing to keep in mind is really to just, if you focus deeply on your individual programming language, whether that's, whether that programming language is Python or JavaScript, if you dive deeply into the programming language, the pseudocode is going to be so much easier. And again, there is a guide in the AP manual, I believe there is a guide in the front that has the translation, so to speak, of the pseudocode versus, what it is that we're actually looking at. Sometimes it's a diagram and it's hard for students to kind of figure that out. But if you give them the handout that goes along with the AP prep materials, it does include on there kind of a list of the pseudocode and the translation of what those diagrams are. So it's really, really helpful. So Julia asks, when do you suggest starting the AP Review supplementary course if you choose to use that? Very good question. Okay, Julia, something that I did, and again, this is just because I was an AP CSP teacher for a while. What I did is I actually used each individual review course module right after the unit. So for instance, if the unit is about cybersecurity and there's the cybersecurity questions, I just went ahead and assigned that as an assignment for my students right after that unit. And then we went back and there were maybe additional questions that we wanted to cover. So you can either interweave it into your curriculum as you teach it, or you can assign it at the end of your course. So this could be maybe after they complete their performance task. This is a really great option. One, because obviously it gives them many practice questions, but two, it's kind of on autopilot for a couple of weeks before they begin their test. The best way to take a test, in my opinion, is honestly to answer as many questions as they can and see them and get to experience them before they actually go in for the EOC. All right. So Elva asks, the review is an additional resource I need to add to the core course. Yes. So there is review, Elva, already built into the AP CSP course. However, there's an additional course that is called Review AP CSP. And that one will allow you to add additional review material. So it's almost like a supplement. I hope that helps. Any other questions? What language is it in? It's in the pseudocode. Good question. Yeah, so the actual programming language is the same pseudocode that they're going to see in the end of course exam. And so regardless of whether you've been teaching in Python or in JavaScript, it's all going to translate into that pseudocode. Great questions. So Julia asks, do you have students refer to AP Classroom frequently, or can we stick to CodeHS and then just create quizzes for them every so often with questions from AP Classroom Bank? Great question. So Julia, I only ever used AP Classroom as a review. So you can choose to use it however you'd like. Sometimes teachers go in there and they find this treasure trove of information, but the most important thing is for you to get through the course content so that your students can then be successful on those questions, should you choose to use those question banks. So I would say you can use it as a supplement. You can just focus on your CodeHS courses because everything is there that your students will need to be successful. So use it either way. Some of the AP Classroom videos were also really great just to be able to show my students as they were reviewing. Great. Can you access the portfolio from CodeHS? No. That's a great question. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and throw into the chat real quick. I'm going to throw the link in there for you. So if you are registered, so if you have already gone through the audit process, you should be able to find this link. So the link is digitalportfolio.collegeboard.org. And again, you can get there from AP Classroom really easily. And in fact, I think it kind of redirects you that way anyway. But what you're going to see is you're going to be able to see the submissions that your students have. If they've submitted anything, you'll see it in your digital portfolio under that individual assignment. So whether that's the program code, the video, or the question and answer portion. So you'll see it checked off as your students go ahead and progress through it, but you won't really have access to their work until they submit as final. So really this is just a checkpoint for you to make sure that they're submitting everything, but you're not necessarily going to be able to grade it or see it until it's finalized. It's a great question. And please let me know if the link is working. Sometimes I throw links out there and I'm like, might have changed. Not working. Okay. All right. So best thing to do is probably to go through the College Board site, and you're going to be able to link it either through your teacher account. Oh, there it is. Okay. digitalportfolio.collegeboard.org. Okay. So I may have misspelled it. Forgive me. There we go. And what you're going to want to do is go ahead and log in there. If your students have already registered for the AP exam, you should see your various sections in there already. So you should be able to see your list of students right away if you go to the digital portfolio, but this is also where your students are going to go. There are going to be links from CodeHS to the digital portfolio. So there are instructions in there that help them to understand where to go. But just know, if you want to kind of poke around in there ahead of time and see where everything is, this is where you'd go. All right. So Elva asks, you said you could have a quiz we created in AP Classroom show up in the assignment within CodeHS. What would it just be a link to the AP Classroom? Yes. So once you create a quiz, you're just going to need to add a link. So you can actually add that individual link by clicking on, I believe it has 3 dots at the top of the quiz, and then you just choose link. Once you've assigned it, you can actually link it anywhere, whether that's your own standalone LMS or CodeHS. On CodeHS, you can actually customize your courses, and you can add course content with those 2 buttons at the top under the, I believe it's under the tab that shows you the modules for the course. You can just click on add, and then you can embed that link either as notes, or you can add the link from there as maybe even, I believe you can embed it, but if you can't embed it, you're going to be able to simply add it in as a note piece, and then they can click from there. So either of those 2 things will work. Yeah. Can you access the portfolio from CodeHS? I think I've answered that one. So you're gonna have to go to digital portfolio. All right, any other questions? All right. When teaching lessons each day, do you have to use those discussion questions, or can we get right to the slides and exercises? Great question, Julia. I usually did the discussion questions at the end of the class period if we had extra time, but I usually just dove right in because we needed a lot of time for the exercises. So yeah, you can structure your course in whatever way you'd like. We do in the lesson plan, put in those allotted amounts of time for each individual activity. So in addition to maybe the whole unit, how long is it going to take? You're going to see for the individual activity, whether that's an opening discussion questions or slides or video, you're going to be able to see, how long it would take. And if it's just not going to work out and you need to take something out, maybe those opening discussions, you either move to the end or you take them out. So really, we put it in the lesson plan specifically for you to be able to tailor it to your learners and your specific experience. I hope that helps.
And just to quickly add to that, there's never like new content that's introduced in the opening discussion questions. So all of the material should be introduced in the slides and exercises. So if you did have to cut something out of the lesson or like the discussion questions, you shouldn't worry that your students are going to miss some form of content. They're primarily there to recall information, to activate knowledge, or just to spark conversation between build connections between a previous lesson and the one that they're about to learn.
Yeah, so the handouts and some of the lesson plans, again, you can use them as a supplement. They're really there for you to kind of give you additional resources. It's almost like we want to give you an arsenal of stuff, but the most important content is really going to be your videos, your examples and your exercises, quizzes as well. Of course, any kind of unit tests are really going to be helpful. Another thing to note is you can also determine, in what order you want to maybe teach your course in. So, we have it laid out in such a way in the modules, those big 5 ideas are going to be kind of mixed into all of the curriculum content and dispersed throughout the modules. But if you choose to, maybe you want to start with a little bit of programming and switch over to the cybersecurity unit and so on, you can do that. So really, it's up to you how you want to pace your course. You just want to make sure that those programming concepts are all going in the sequence that is recommended, just so that your students are picking up the skills they need in order to be successful along the way. It's the only thing that I would discourage is to do any of those coding exercises out of order. So, okay, great. So Eric asks, so the performance task portion is not a formal exam like the end of course exam. I see the plagiarism policy, but I do not see the formalness or lack thereof of the performance task. Okay, so let me make sure I'm understanding your question. So Eric, the performance task isn't a part of the formal end of course exam, but it will run through some plagiarism software. So you want to ensure that your students are not either copying and pasting. One thing that students will do, oftentimes they'll look at maybe a practice performance task and think, well, perhaps I can maybe, alter this, but you want to make sure that they're using their own work, their own language, so that they can submit that exam. So it says, it's not a formal multiple choice, type of exam like the end of course exam. However, it is your project portion of the exam. So it's going to be graded with the same rigor. And it is graded based on a rubric that is provided to you in AP Classroom, or I believe it's in the teacher portal. So where you do your AP audit, that's where you're going to be able to find all of those resources, like the scoring rubric for the create task. It is a pretty detailed document, so it's important for you to note that. And Eric, if I did not answer your question, let me know. I want to make sure to answer all of those questions. Okay, great. Good to note, Eric. So just making sure I've answered all questions. So again, the AP review, AP supplementary course, you want to start that probably right before they review or disperse throughout the course. And then you add that to the additional, as an addition to your core course. And in some cases, if the review course, if you're not going to have enough time for it, there will be plenty of review with built already within the AP CSP course. All right, let me know in the chat as we're closing up here. I want to know how we feel after the webinar. I hope you're feeling confident that you can teach the course. I hope that you're excited about what's available to you at CodeHS. Let me know.